After watching the video discussing on how the actors felt during the play and just kind of their general consensus of how they prepared for it, I kind of pulled back on some of the ideas that I had from the paper we had to write on kind of the some of the ways to prepare for acting and how they might have prepared. Um, as Karen said in this video, she kind of talked about how when she was initially kind of looking the script over and looking at the playwright, she drew back on her childhood and kind of her parental roles. That her dad was a science teacher who she identified with as being kind of the cool science teacher in the play, and her mom just being a teacher as well. So having her mother being a teacher, she kind of was able to put herself in that role because she said before she would kind of go on stage and before she would start, she would clear herself like of her own emotions and try and best put herself in the actual kind of seat um, of Naya. So I thought it was pretty interesting that like she didn't pull her own emotions into things, but she used them to better put herself in the kind of emotional state of her character. Then another one was what was Namir. He was talking about how for his role he had done a workshop earlier in Chicago, and when he started reading, like he immediately like kind of it all came back. Excuse me. Like it was all right there. It all came back to him at once, and that he was also able to pull upon his past experiences as an African American in high school, just kind of the general struggles throughout his whole life. He was really able to pull a lot of his headspace from his own experiences. So it was, I feel like he felt like it was kind of easy for him to go into that place because the same rage and frustration and kind of emotions that kind of men in general have from not being as expressive emotionally and just kind of wanting to bottle things up. That, in addition, kind of made it easy for him to assume the role. And I think I feel like that's identifiable by a good amount of just, I guess, men in general being a little less expressive and kind of bottling things up and kind of holding it in. So I feel like that's a pretty identifiable thing, pretty relatable. And then for Omar, I believe his name was. Oh my gosh, I can't remember now. But from the roles of father, he was also kind of. It's funny, they all kind of played back on their childhood, and they all recalled that. But his father was raised him can kind of be, I guess, the typical don't show emotion, you can't cry, you gotta be tough, you gotta really show a straight face to everything. Um, and how even though he's trying to be kind of different with his own daughters, and he's trying to realize that his perspective when he was younger is he didn't really have an emotional control, and like you don't really have like a safe haven with your parents, and you don't have that kind of that space to really be able to let go of things. He was trying to be kind of different in his own life, but going back on this role, he kind of had to change things a little bit. So from the parental standpoint, of his own father wanting him to be kind of more, I guess, kind of more shut down emotionally and be very, I guess, cold about things, not in like a mean way, but just kind of in a non-emotional way. That he's his own life, he's tried to change that, and so his preparation was kind of just relating back on that rather than to kind of go on what he's tried to change in his own life as being dad. Um, so I feel like overall they all have had experience in some emotional part of the way of their role, whether it be being your own father, kind of feeling how it is to be one of your parents, because Naya was a teacher and so were Karen's parents. And then just in general as being like a student and being a minority student as well, a lot of things that you experience, a lot of the ways that you feel, he was able to call that and kind of channel that energy rather than like remove himself from the situation. I feel like that helped him a lot. So overall, I feel like it was a good casting, and they all have more than adequate experience to fulfill the roles that they did. Yeah.